Ever watch like a basketball player pull off some crazy move, or like a dancer just completely flowing? You're like, how do they even do that? It looks effortless. So that's what we're diving into today with Ido Portal.
Oh, cool. Big fan.
He's got some fascinating ideas about movement and, get this, allowing movement to happen.
Allowing. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Right, like we think we're in control, but he digs into this whole other level of what's happening in our brains and bodies.
Interesting. So where do we even start with this whole allowing thing?
Well, Portal talks about this thing called the premotor state.
Yeah.
Basically, our brains are always humming with potential movements ready to go.
So it's not just reacting to things, it's like anticipating.
Yeah, almost like our brains have a whole library of movements on standby.
Like a toolbox of movement possibilities or something.
Exactly. So think about like texting on your phone.
Yeah.
You don't consciously tell each finger, okay, now move here, now press this.
Right. It just kind of happens.
That's this humming network Portal's talking about. The sequence is already wired in there, ready to go.
Okay, that makes sense, but how does that equate to allowing movement?
Well, that's where the gates of movement come in. He says we don't actually control each muscle individually. It's more like we learn to release these pre-programmed movement patterns.
So instead of micromanaging every little thing,
We set the stage and then...
our body kind of takes over.
Exactly, our body's natural intelligence takes the wheel.
Interesting. So going back to that athlete example, they're not necessarily making super fast decisions in the moment. It's more like...
They've practiced so much, those gates just fly open automatically.
Yeah, exactly. They've trained their brains to anticipate and their bodies to respond super fluidly. Portal actually uses a really cool analogy here. He compares it to a dancer and the dance.
Oh, I like that. So it's not all predetermined, right? There's still choice involved.
Exactly. It's this fascinating interplay between our conscious choices and the pre-programmed potential that we have. The dancer chooses the steps, but they're working within, the existing vocabulary of their body and the music. They've just trained to the point where these complex movements feel almost automatic.
So learning a new skill, like it's less about brute force effort and more about tapping into these patterns that already exist.
That's what Portal would argue, yeah. Even when we learn something new, we're essentially adapting existing patterns, refining that movement library in our brains, you could say.
Wow. This is making me think about like free will. If so much of this is pre-programmed, where does that leave our conscious choice?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Are we really in control, or are we just dancing within the dance, as Portal puts it?
Right. It's kind of trippy.
It is. It doesn't mean we have no choice, of course, but it suggests maybe our choices work a bit differently than we traditionally think.